Welcome, dear listener, to a story born from the whisper of waves and the silence of the deep sea. This is not a tale of war or conquest, but of mysteries hidden in the heart of the ocean. Close your eyes and imagine the endless horizon, where the sky melts into the restless waters below. The sea holds secrets older than mountains, secrets carried in currents and hidden in coral caves. Among those secrets lies the tale of a god, a guardian, and a flame that should never have existed. Poseidon, lord of the seas, stands not as a tyrant, but as a keeper of balance and harmony. In his hand rests the Trident, forged by power, bound by duty, and whispered about in ancient songs. Yet even the strongest weapon may carry mysteries untold, mysteries that bend the fate of worlds. Tonight, we follow the path of the ocean's keeper, guided by light that burns without smoke or ash. Listen closely as we descend into the story of Poseidon and the Trident's flame, a legend beyond time. The ocean stretched wide and endless, a mirror of the sky. Yet its heart carried a secret pulse of change. Above, the waves rolled gently, but beneath them currents swirled like whispers between ancient guardians unseen. The sea was never silent, for every ripple carried stories, and every tide bore the memory of ages. On this night, Poseidon felt the rhythm shift, a subtle call within the deep that only he could hear. The Lord of the Seas stood still upon the waters, his trident in hand, his gaze piercing the horizon. He was not a ruler seeking conquest, but a keeper attuned to the moods of every current and tide. The dolphins leapt playfully nearby, yet even they turned their heads, sensing a murmur moving through the depths. Coral reefs shimmered faintly, their colors brighter than usual, as if painted with firelight hidden beneath the sea. The currents grew restless, carrying echoes of a song long forgotten, rising from the deep oceanic trenches below. Poseidon's heart, steady as stone, quickened with the awareness of something awakening, something older than himself. He recalled the old songs of the nymphs, their voices soft, telling of balance between flame and wave. The trident, firm in his grasp, flickered faintly, casting not its usual blue glow, but a trace of gold. This golden glimmer was strange, gentle yet insistent, like a flame breathing softly in the heart of the sea. Poseidon bent low, brushing his hand against the surface, feeling warmth where only cold waters should exist. The sea, his eternal companion, was whispering a secret, and he knew he must follow its subtle call. Far below the surface, unseen by mortal eyes, the abyss stirred as patterns of light danced upon its walls. Creatures of the deep, who seldom rose to greet the surface, lingered close, drawn to the shift in tide. A hush fell across the waters, not silence, but reverence, as though the sea itself awaited his choice. The ocean, vast and endless, had carried mysteries since time's beginning, but this one carried both fire and light. Poseidon straightened, his hair flowing with the breeze, his eyes filled with both wonder and unspoken questions. The trident pulsed gently, a reminder that its power was bound not only to strength, but to hidden truths. The flame that flickered now was not of destruction, but of promise, born from a union thought impossible. And in that golden shimmer, Poseidon knew his journey was only beginning, guided by the restless heart of the sea. The night deepened, and the ocean grew quiet, as though the stars above leaned close to watch the sea. Poseidon stood still, the trident in his hand, its surface faintly glowing with a color he had never seen. It was not the silver blue of waves, nor the pale shimmer of moonlight, but a soft golden radiance. The glow pulsed gently, as though the weapon itself carried a heartbeat, alive with an ancient memory. Poseidon raised it higher, and the reflection on the waters spread wide like threads of fire woven in silk. The dolphins circled closer, their eyes wide, curious but reverent, sensing the Trident's unusual energy that night. Coral below gleamed brighter, each reef shimmering like jewels, as though the sea's colors had awakened from slumber. The warmth of the glow was not harsh, but kind, like a spark of sunlight drifting through endless water. Poseidon knew the Trident was more than a symbol of power. It was a bridge between realms, sky and sea. He remembered an old whisper from the nymphs. One day, the sea shall carry a flame that does not burn. The prophecy was faint in his memory, but the words now rang true as the golden light flickered alive. The currents moved gently, yet carried a song beneath them, soft and low, like a chorus of hidden voices. Each pulse of the Trident echoed with the rhythm of that song, a harmony of flame and water combined. Poseidon felt no fear, only wonder, though he knew such signs never appeared without reason or greater design. He leaned close, the golden shimmer reflecting in his eyes, and whispered to the sea, seeking its counsel. The ocean answered not in words, but in movement, its tides flowing toward the east as though guiding him. The glow grew stronger, a steady flame that swirled but never consumed, balancing warmth with the cool of waves. Even the stars above seemed to bend their light, shining brighter as though drawn into the Trident's mystery. Poseidon realized the sea itself had chosen this moment, revealing a secret it had guarded for countless ages. This was no ordinary glow, but a sign of flame hidden within the ocean's heart, waiting to be found. The Trident hummed softly in his grasp, as if urging him to follow, to seek the source of its fire. Poseidon closed his eyes and listened, his spirit aligned with the ocean's pulse, ready for the path ahead. The night would carry him deeper into its mysteries, and the flame within the Trident would light his way. And so, beneath the vast horizon, Poseidon prepared to descend, guided by a glow that belonged to both sea and sun. The sea stretched calm, yet beneath its stillness, voices stirred, like echoes of old songs rising from the deep. Poseidon felt the call grow stronger, a rhythm of the ocean that asked for gathering, not for solitude. He summoned the council of waves, spirits and guardians who had shared in the keeping of ocean's balance. One by one they came, gliding through the waters, their presence shining like pearls within the endless blue. The sea nymphs arrived first, their laughter soft yet serious, carrying melodies that spoke of ancient memories. Dolphins leapt gracefully in circles, playful but wise, as though bearing secrets hidden in the currents of time. The elder sea turtles drifted slowly, steady as stone, bearing the weight of centuries within their silent gaze. From coral caves swam the merfolk, their voices weaving together, carrying songs that told of prophecy and flame. Each being gathered near Poseidon, surrounding him in reverence, aware the Trident's glow was no simple light. The golden shimmer danced across their faces, and even the smallest creatures paused, sensing the shift of fate. Poseidon lifted the Trident high, its flame pulsing softly, and silence fell, deep as the ocean floor. He spoke not as a ruler, but as a guardian, sharing what he had seen, the glow that warmed the sea. The council listened, their eyes wide, for many had heard the prophecy, but never believed it would awaken. A sea nymph stepped forward, her voice trembling yet clear, recalling the verse sung in times beyond memory. When water meets flame and neither is lost, the sea shall find balance, and light shall guide the waves. The dolphins whistled softly, as if in agreement, their tones weaving harmony through the quiet gathering. An elder turtle closed its eyes, nodding slowly, remembering times when the ocean's heart had pulsed in strange rhythms. Merfolk whispered to one another, their voices carrying worry but also hope, for prophecy carried both gift and test. Poseidon listened, his heart steady, yet he knew this was no tale to ignore, but a call to act. He asked them what should be done, and their voices joined in one chorus: follow the light, seek its truth. The trident pulsed again, brighter now, as though answering their song, promising guidance in the journey ahead. Poseidon lowered his gaze, feeling the weight of trust placed upon him, not as ruler, but as keeper. The council bowed their heads, the ocean around them shimmering as if blessing the choice that had been made. And so, within the gathering of waves and spirits, a path was set, a journey into the unknown. The sea held its breath in reverence as Poseidon turned eastward, ready to follow the glow that called. Poseidon set his course toward the deep trenches, where sunlight never reached and silence carried its own song. The sea around him darkened as he descended, layer by layer, each current colder, each shadow more profound. Yet the trident's flame glowed brighter, casting a soft golden light that painted the darkness with gentle warmth. Schools of fish scattered and then returned, following him with cautious curiosity, drawn to the strange illumination. The walls of the ocean trench loomed vast, carved by time, etched with patterns like forgotten runes of stone. Strange plants clung to the rocks, glowing faintly, as if they too answered the pulse of the trident's light. The deeper he went, the quieter it became, until even the sound of currents felt like whispers in prayer. From hidden crevices, luminous creatures emerged, their eyes reflecting the flame, as though welcoming the god's descent. Poseidon's heart beat steady, but his spirit trembled with wonder, for he knew he was nearing a secret. The trench stretched downward endlessly, a cathedral of water, its pillars of stone older than mortal memory. The golden glow touched the walls, revealing shapes and symbols carved by hands unknown, messages of the deep. One symbol glimmered brighter than the rest, a spiral encircling a flame, etched deep into the seabed rock. Poseidon traced it with his hand, and the stone responded, sending ripples of light across the abyssal plain. The trench quivered softly, not in violence, but in awakening, as though something ancient stirred from a long dream. The flame within the trident grew warmer, not dangerous, but alive, a heartbeat echoing with the ocean itself. Around him, creatures gathered in stillness, from tiny plankton to massive whales, forming a circle of silent witness. The waters shimmered like liquid glass, currents weaving in patterns that mirrored the spiral carved upon the rock. Poseidon followed the path downward, deeper still, where the darkness gave way to a vast chamber of light. There, at the trench's heart, stood a crystal sphere, glowing with fire that did not burn, flame without smoke. It floated above the seabed, turning slowly, its glow shifting between gold and blue, ocean and sun combined. Poseidon's eyes widened, for he had found the origin, the secret the sea had guarded through endless time. The trident in his hand pulsed with recognition, its flame resonating with the sphere, like kin reunited. He reached out, not to claim, but to understand, his heart steady, his purpose clear as the tide. The chamber brightened, and the sea itself seemed to breathe, as though exhaling a truth held for eternity. Poseidon knew this was the path foretold, the place where flame and water danced without consuming one another. And in that glowing silence, he realized his journey had only just begun, guided by the light of both sea and flame. Poseidon set his course toward the deep trenches, where sunlight never reached and silence carried its own song. The sea around him darkened as he descended, layer by layer, each current colder, each shadow more profound. Yet the trident's flame glowed brighter, casting a soft golden light that painted the darkness with gentle warmth. Schools of fish scattered and then returned, following him with cautious curiosity, drawn to the strange illumination. The walls of the ocean trench loomed vast, carved by time, etched with patterns like forgotten runes of stone. Strange plants clung to the rocks, glowing faintly, as if they too answered the pulse of the trident's light. The deeper he went, the quieter it became, until even the sound of currents felt like whispers in prayer. From hidden crevices, luminous creatures emerged, their eyes reflecting the flame, as though welcoming the god's descent. Poseidon's heart beat steady, but his spirit trembled with wonder, for he knew he was nearing a secret. The trench stretched downward endlessly, a cathedral of water, its pillars of stone older than mortal memory. The golden glow touched the walls, revealing shapes and symbols carved by hands unknown, messages of the deep. One symbol glimmered brighter than the rest, a spiral encircling a flame, etched deep into the seabed rock. Poseidon traced it with his hand, and the stone responded, sending ripples of light across the abyssal plain. The trench quivered softly, not in violence, but in awakening, as though something ancient stirred from a long dream. The flame within the trident grew warmer, not dangerous, but alive, a heartbeat echoing with the ocean itself. Around him, creatures gathered in stillness, from tiny plankton to massive whales, forming a circle of silent witness. The water shimmered like liquid glass, currents weaving in patterns that mirrored the spiral carved upon the rock. Poseidon followed the path downward, deeper still, where the darkness gave way to a vast chamber of light. There, at the trench's heart, stood a crystal sphere, glowing with fire that did not burn, flame without smoke. It floated above the seabed, turning slowly, its glow shifting between gold and blue, ocean and sun combined. Poseidon's eyes widened, for he had found the origin, the secret the sea had guarded through endless time. The trident in his hand pulsed with recognition, its flame resonating with the sphere like kin reunited. He reached out, not to claim, but to understand, his heart steady, his purpose clear as the tide. The chamber brightened, and the sea itself seemed to breathe, as though exhaling a truth held for eternity. Poseidon knew this was the path foretold, the place where flame and water danced without consuming one another. And in that glowing silence, he realized his journey had only just begun, guided by the light of both sea and flame. Poseidon rose slowly from the chamber, the trident glowing with golden fire, its light trailing ribbons across the sea. The ocean stirred in response, currents weaving in harmony, as though every tide had awakened to greet the flame. Above him, schools of silver fish darted through the glow, their scales flashing like sparks against the watery dark. The warmth of the flames spread outward, touching reefs and corals, breathing life into colors long hidden in shadow. Even the whales sang deeper, their voices richer, carrying songs of joy that echoed through the endless blue. Poseidon felt the energy pulse within the trident, steady yet powerful, like a heartbeat that belonged to the sea. He raised it higher, and the glow spilled outward, transforming the waters into a cathedral of fire and wave. But soon the light pressed harder, growing stronger, as though testing him, demanding more than mere possession. Poseidon steadied himself, gripping the trident firmly, feeling the strain as warmth threatened to overtake his calm. The flame surged, golden currents racing through the sea, wrapping around him like vines seeking a place to root. For a moment, he feared it might consume, but then he remembered. The flame was not of destruction. It was a union, a balance, a gift of harmony between fire's passion and water's eternal calm. He closed his eyes, his mind sinking into the rhythm of the waves, listening to the heartbeat of the ocean. The currents whispered their song, reminding him that strength was not control, but the grace of balance. The flame softened, no longer pressing outward, but folding into the trident, steady as a sun beneath the sea. Poseidon opened his eyes to find the light surrounding him calm, glowing gently, alive but no longer wild. Creatures swam near him fearlessly, brushing against the golden shimmer as though comforted by its warmth and peace. The dolphins leapt joyfully, spiraling through the glow, carrying sparks of light upon their sleek silver backs. Poseidon's heart steadied with pride, but also humility, for he knew this gift was meant to be guarded. The sea had trusted him, and now the flame had chosen him, binding itself to his eternal guardianship. Yet he felt a whisper in the glow, a soft voice, not in words, but in meaning. Guide, not command. The trident's light dimmed slightly, settling into a balance of blue and gold. Sea and fire united as one. The waters returned to calm, but the world beneath was forever changed, touched by a flame that healed. Poseidon turned his gaze upward, toward the surface, knowing the sea above had felt the pulse of this change. Sailors would see horizons shimmer brighter, waves sparkling as though dawn had scattered its fire upon the tide. And Poseidon, keeper of the deep, knew his journey was far from over, for balance must be protected always. With trident aglow, he swam upward, ready to carry the flame into the vast and waiting heart of the ocean. The sea above glistened with strange light, as if the surface had been brushed by golden dawn before its time. Fishermen looked across the horizon, whispering in awe, their nets forgotten as waves shimmered like threads of fire. Farsmem. Beneath, Poseidon carried the glowing trident, moving steadily through endless blue, the ocean parting at his command. Yet this time, the sea was not obeying but singing with him, joining the balance of flame and tide. Whales followed in his wake, their songs now deeper, carrying messages of renewal across the farthest reaches of water. Even the smallest fish turned, their movements forming spirals as though dancing in reverence to the glowing flame. Poseidon slowed, sensing the energy ripple outward, reaching corners of the world where light had never touched before. In dark caverns, forgotten corals awoke, spreading blooms of color, glowing brighter than lanterns hung within the deep. Ancient turtles stirred from their rest, eyes gleaming with wisdom, drawn to the warmth now coursing through the sea. The flame had become more than power. It was awakening life, restoring harmony long lost in the quiet abyss. Poseidon felt humbled, realizing he was not the master of this gift, but only the vessel for its song. He listened closely, hearing its whispers, threads of meaning carried within the golden hum inside the trident's core. The message was clear. This was not his alone, but a treasure meant for all who lived in balance. Yet, balance was fragile, and Poseidon knew the seas were not always calm, nor were hearts always pure. He thought of sailors battling storms, of kingdoms rising and falling, of men who sought power over the sea. Would they understand a flame that healed? Or would they try to wield it as a weapon of rule? The thought lingered heavy, and Poseidon gripped the trident tighter, vowing to guard it with patience and wisdom. Above, a storm began to form, clouds twisting like darkened sails across the wide and restless sky. But unlike storms of rage, this one shimmered faintly, as if caught between shadow and the golden fire's touch. Poseidon rose toward it, feeling the trident pulse, the flame calling to the skies as much as the sea. When he broke the surface, the world greeted him with thunder. Yet the rain fell soft, glowing like silver. The ocean glimmered with sparks, each droplet carrying fragments of fire, weaving sky and sea into a single breath. Sailors watching from afar gasped, believing they had seen the gods bless the waters with fire from the heavens. Poseidon raised the trident high, its light answering the storm, and for a moment, silence fell across sea and sky. Then the clouds parted slowly, letting golden rays shine through, as if the flame itself had painted dawn anew. The sea calmed, the air grew still, and Poseidon knew the journey of the flame was just beginning. With the trident steady, he turned once more toward the depths, carrying the fire of balance into the waiting deep. Beneath the calming waves, Poseidon descended once more, the golden flame still humming gently within his trident's core. The sea embraced him like an endless cloak, its currents soft, yet charged with the memory of fire's song. Creatures of the deep followed in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the god who carried balance in his hand. He passed through towering kelp forests, their leaves shimmering gold as the flame's warmth brushed against their hidden roots. The light spread farther than sight, weaving through the ocean's secret veins, waking life that had long slumbered. Poseidon slowed near an ancient ridge, a place older than memory, carved with marks left by forgotten tides. Here the flame pulsed brighter, as if it recognized the stone, whispering secrets of time etched within its cracks. Poseidon placed the trident into the sand, and the earth trembled softly, a murmur rising from the ocean floor. The ridge glowed faintly, symbols illuminating, spirals and waves that told stories of gods, mortals, storms, and renewal. He read the patterns like a song, realizing this was a place of meeting, where sea and flame were bound. The message within the stone was clear. The flame was never meant to rest, but to journey across ages. Each bearer was a guardian, not a master, chosen only to guide the light toward harmony and balance. Poseidon felt the weight of countless years, the burden of keepers past, each one surrendering the flame to time. His heart stirred with humility, knowing he was but one in a chain of guardians, each link unbroken. The trident pulsed again, golden threads stretching outward, as if binding his spirit to those who came before. In that moment, he felt their presence. Whispers of strength, patience, and wisdom carried within the rhythm of the sea. The ocean darkened slightly, shadows folding across the ridge. Yet the flame held steady, bright against the gloom. A hush fell over the waters, as though the sea itself paused to witness this covenant renewed. Poseidon raised the trident slowly, the golden light stronger now, not just fire but memory woven into it. The creatures bowed lower, forming a circle of reverence, their glowing forms like stars in a vast midnight sea. He spoke softly, his voice carried on the currents, promising to honor the flame, to protect it from misuse. The vow sank deep into the waters, binding itself to the ridge, echoing across the unseen corners of the ocean. For a moment, he felt at peace, the burden lighter, the journey clearer, his purpose sharpened like crystal. But then, from beyond the ridge, a tremor shook the seabed, distant yet insistent, a warning of unrest. The flame flickered slightly, not in weakness, but as if preparing, knowing its path was never meant to be simple. Poseidon gripped the trident tighter, his gaze turning outward, toward the far currents that stirred with unseen challenge. The ocean had been awakened, and with awakening came trial, a reminder that balance must always be earned. With steady resolve, he turned from the ridge, carrying the flame onward, toward the next chapter waiting in the deep. The deep currents whispered, louder as Poseidon swam farther, the trident glowing like a sun carried through endless night. The ocean around him shifted uneasily, as if the waters sensed a trial rising from shadows hidden in the abyss. He passed cliffs of black stone, their jagged edges stretching upward like towers carved by forgotten gods of the deep. Strange creatures lingered in the dark, their eyes glimmering pale, watching silently as the god of the sea passed by. The flame within the trident pulsed faster, its golden glow trembling, warning of something stirring beyond mortal sight. Poseidon steadied himself, remembering the ridge's vow that balance must be guarded not with force, but with harmony. Suddenly, the seabed rumbled, and a surge of current swept across him, not wild but purposeful, pulling him forward. The waters thickened, pressure building as though the ocean itself resisted his path, testing his resolve with unseen weight. He pressed onward, each stroke carrying him deeper, the trident lighting his way like a beacon through living shadow. Then, a vast chasm opened below, darker than night, wide enough to swallow kingdoms whole, endless in its silence. The flame flared in answer, golden arcs dancing across the trident, as if urging him to face what lay ahead. Poseidon hovered at the edge, gazing into the abyss, where no light touched and no song of the sea reached. From within, a low hum rose, ancient and hollow, the voice of the deep itself awakening from long sleep. The sound echoed in his chest, vibrating through the water, testing his spirit, seeking weakness within the god's heart. Poseidon gripped the trident firmly, lifting it high, letting the flame's golden light pierce the abyss below him. The darkness recoiled slightly, as though unwilling to face the warmth, yet it pressed back with silence heavier than stone. The sea around him stilled, not a creature moved, as all waited for the outcome of this meeting. Poseidon's eyes narrowed, for he understood. This was not an enemy, but the abyss testing his worth as guardian. The flame pulsed in rhythm, matching the hum, weaving fire and shadow into a song of tension and release. He closed his eyes, letting the trident guide him, listening not with ears, but with the heart of the ocean. The hum softened slowly, shifting from challenge into recognition, as if the abyss had measured him and found balance. Golden light streamed downward, filling cracks of the chasm, illuminating hidden gardens where life stirred beneath endless dark. Strange flowers opened, glowing in colors unseen before, carried upward on currents like lanterns released into the sea. The abyss quieted, its silence no longer heavy, but deep and watchful, an ally rather than a foe. Poseidon lowered the trident, the flame calm once more, its purpose deepened, its bond with the sea made stronger. He breathed slowly, his heart steady, knowing each trial revealed more of the truth hidden within the flame's gift. The ocean exhaled around him, currents softening, as though the deep itself now carried him forward with quiet approval. Poseidon turned from the chasm, the trident's glow steady, ready for the final test the flame would demand of him. Poseidon rose from the abyss, the trident steady, its golden flame now calm, carrying the weight of trials endured. The sea seemed lighter, the currents smoother, as if the deep itself had exhaled after granting its silent blessing. Creatures followed quietly, their glowing forms trailing like constellations behind the god as he moved through vast waters. The flame pulsed softly, not fierce but steady, whispering that one final step remained before harmony could be sealed. Poseidon swam toward the open ocean, where light from above met the endless blue, a meeting place of worlds. Here the waters shimmered with both calm and storm, a place balanced between peace and the chaos of tide. The trident grew warmer in his grasp, the golden glow spreading wider, reaching the farthest edges of the horizon. Above, clouds gathered once more, yet not in anger. but as if drawn to witness what was soon to unfold. The sea quieted, no wave breaking, as if the entire world held its breath, waiting for Poseidon's choice. He lifted the trident high, and the flame surged, brighter than ever, spilling light that bound sea and sky. Golden fire arched upward, weaving with clouds, while blue currents spiraled below, creating a bridge between realms unseen. The ocean sang in answer, whales and dolphins raising their voices, joined by winds whispering across the vast air. Poseidon felt the harmony stretch outward, fire and water uniting not as opposites, but as eternal companions of life. Visions flickered before him, lands touched by rain, rivers fed by flame, seas glowing with balance carried through generations. The prophecy's meaning deepened. The flame was not a prize nor a weapon, but a covenant for all existence. It was a promise that balance could endure, even in storm, if guardians chose harmony over dominion or fear. The light dimmed slightly, settling into the trident's heart, steady now, no longer seeking, for it had found home. Poseidon lowered the weapon, his expression calm, his spirit sure, carrying the flame not as burden, but as vow. The waters stirred gently, embracing him, as though the sea itself had crowned him anew as keeper of its truth. Above, the clouds parted, sunlight pouring through, not harsh, but warm, reflecting golden sparks across the waiting ocean. Sailors on distant ships shielded their eyes, whispering prayers, believing they had witnessed a god binding sky and sea. Poseidon turned slowly, his gaze sweeping the horizon, knowing his journey was not to claim, but to protect. The flame within the trident glowed with quiet strength, ready to serve as guide, healer, and guardian for ages. He thought of the abyss, the ridge, the storms. Each trial a lesson that balance could never be taken lightly. Harmony was alive, fragile yet unyielding, and it was his charge to ensure its flame never faltered in the dark. With steady resolve, Poseidon swam forward, carrying the trident's light, the sea's song rising behind him in eternal chorus. And so the tale of the trident's flame became not an ending, but the beginning of balance, renewed forever. The ocean stretched endless, a mirror of silver and blue, carrying the echo of Poseidon's vow through every wave. The trident rested firm in his grasp, its golden flame no longer wild, but steady, glowing like a heartbeat eternal. The gods above felt its resonance, a quiet pulse that reached Olympus, whispering of balance, one without fury or war. Zeus watched the skies clear, thunder softened to a hum, as if even storms bowed to the harmony now restored. Athena traced the flame's echo in her mind, smiling faintly, knowing wisdom had guided Poseidon through his path of trial. The seas, once restless, moved with rhythm, tides flowing gentle, no longer at odds with fire or wind. Creatures swam freely, from smallest fish to vast leviathans, their movements a hymn of peace sung to the deep. The people on distant shores felt it too, their waters calm, their harvests rich, blessings carried by unseen hands. No temple rose higher than the flame in the trident, for it was not worship demanded, but balance preserved. Poseidon drifted upward, breaking the surface, where the sun kissed the sea, and golden sparks shimmered upon the waves. The horizon blazed with light, not fierce but soft, like a promise shared between ocean and sky forever bound. He breathed deeply, not of air, but of certainty, knowing the flame was more than power, it was legacy. His gaze swept the world, not as ruler, but as guardian, carrying strength shaped by trial and tempered by wisdom. The trident pulsed gently, reminding him that its fire belonged not to one god, but to every living soul. Balance was fragile, yes, but alive, and it needed only a willing heart to nurture, protect, and believe. He thought of future storms, of shadows that might rise, yet he carried no fear, only steady resolve within. The sea would guide him, the flame would guard him, and the chorus of life would always sing beside him. The clouds above parted wide, rays spilling golden threads across the water, a bridge between realms of earth and sky. And sailors far and near raised their voices, whispering tales of a god who walked with both fire and tide. Legends would grow, yes, but Poseidon knew truth was simpler. He had chosen harmony when power tempted the most. The ocean accepted his vow, waves rolling soft, carrying it to every shore, a song to outlast the ages. And as he turned once more toward the deep, the Trident's flame burned steady, a beacon no darkness could drown. For the tale of Poseidon and the Trident's flame was not of conquest, but of balance won and balance kept. And so the sea sang on, eternal, its voice woven with fire and light, carrying the promise into forever.